Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Circuit of the Americas 2023 in Austin, Texas. We're with Super Lap Battle. GLTC from Gridlife is a guest here this weekend. We qualified third. We got a great jump on Luke. I don't know why Luke's car doesn't fire off harder, but we dove in hard here to the first to try and make sure we could get up to towards the front at least. Tried to keep it low to make sure we gave those guys some room to fight. And Curly's got a better exit and a nice strong run coming down the hill. So we end up tucking in here trying to go single file through the S's, as you kill a lot of speed if you try and go too wide. And I'm not trying to do that, especially early on in the race when there's a bunch of people that want to be at the front. So anyway, great start from where we were. And now we can work forward, although that is a tall order because Curly is flying this weekend. It's the best I've seen him drive. And his car was a rocket ship too. And so much fun racing with him. He put in so much work just to even have a car to drive this weekend because he ended up having some issues in the test day prior. And it was basically no track time almost because it kept having issues. And they worked their tails off to get through it. So kudos to him and his team, and pretty awesome having a teammate with that kind of speed. So anyway, I'll let you listen here for a bit, and then we'll get into the rest of race one. We're going to do all of race one, and then just a few snippets, highlights from the other races. And then race 4 we didn't get because someone turned the GoPro on time lapse. So, whoops. Anyway, enjoy the rest of rest of this opening lap, and then we'll get back. Thankfully, that was just a one-lap caution, which is pretty rare, but it was very nice. So we're going to get going here right away. But anyway, back to my shock theory. I like to run stuff pretty soft so that I can trail brake into corners and then help bite coming off corners, and it helps transfer weight of the car. And I'm learning that the car does that very well, and that's its strength. But it seems like the weakness from that is high speed, where you hit the brakes and you turn in, and then it transfers all that weight, and then it gets really loose on entry oftentimes, or transitions like this where it's transferring the weight. It just wants to flick and then oversteer, so which is difficult to drive, and it's hard to drive fast, which I don't mind the challenge. And a lot of the top drivers will tell you, like, if your car is easy to drive and you don't catch it, you're probably not going fast enough, or it's not set up well enough. So that's something I want to play around more with and learn more about. But that's something that I'd love to discuss too with people and see their thoughts on the theory. I can certainly improve it by tightening it up and improve the high speed, but I feel like that definitely will hurt the low speed side of things. So another thing to talk about, bought myself a little UMI F-body shift handle, and it's pretty great. I just wanted something that kind of put the handle up a little bit higher and further towards me, so this one's got a bend in it, and I've been pretty happy with it. It's really happy with it. It was fantastic. It's the best this car's ever felt shifting. And part of that change is because we put a new cage in this car to go with our new seat. So if you could see, maybe from if you're a previous viewer, we got a new actual race seat in the car instead of that little Kirky stuff we always used to run. And got a halo seat in there, a little more safety. And then to run that seat with my giant body, I had to get a different cage, which turned out great. And I am so much more comfortable in the car. And right from the get-go, everything just felt so much better. So I'm really happy with how that turned out, and the fruits of that labor and money is paying off already, and I'm thrilled about that. So other off-season upgrades, we switched over to a Corvette C7 radiator. The gentleman Lewis at G-Speed has been doing this for a while and suggested that maybe we can give it a shot. So kind of lean that baby forward, and we've got a C7 cooling fan as well, which is an absolute monster. And our Holley unit, the Holley Terminator, is capable of outputting the PWM, or pulse width modulation signal that fan needs. And so we got that running, and so it kicks in and adjusts itself based on temperature, and it rips. So that, along with my new shroud and everything, it stayed a lot cooler than it used to. And we also are running a separate oil cooler this year, thanks to Earl's. And the combination of those things has helped tremendously. I think even on the hottest days now, this day it was 86 degrees, and I was following Curly basically the whole time. I think the highest temp I saw was 215, which isn't scary, but isn't this car out running by itself was 190 to 200. Plus this was, like I said, I think it was 87 or 88 degrees and sunny this day, and it was fairly high humidity as well. So I'm really happy about that, and I'm confident that we can stay in the draft as much as we want from here on. So that's exciting news to me as far as I'm concerned. Back to my teammate Paul here up in front of us. Dude was absolutely ripping all weekend. He had some issues. Thankfully, he got basically all of those worked out the test day prior. Even though it basically ruined all of his test day, at least it didn't ruin his race day. So he was ripping, and I mean, I'm giving it everything I've got, and I can barely stay with him at this point. So this was a really fun race. You can see right there is some of the high speed stability stuff that is tough, and you got to have really quick hands. And in my old age, they're still not terrible, but they're probably not as good as some. But yeah, that high speed stuff where you chuck it in, it transfers that weight so fast, or kind of flicks that weight so hard that it just upsets everything, and it's tough to drive. So I think that's what I've got to learn moving forward here, is the best balance for each track, and what makes me comfortable is usually what equals speed. And I hate a car that understeers, and that's typically when I've got the car a little bit stiffer. That's usually what I feel is understeer. Even when trail braking, I can't get the car to turn. And so it'll be an ongoing season thing, but for now we're happy to have gotten the start we got anyway. Oh, we won, by the way. Spoiler alert, we won the weekend, and it was awesome. We won the first 3 races, which this is race 1, which I've already told you, and you'll see, I think it's maybe the next lap or the one after, you'll see what happened. And then it'll just be a couple highlights of the subsequent races, and that's it for this video. So what else did we do in the off season? New splitter and front end design. So this year they changed the rules a little bit to where last year a wing would cost you 3%, either in horsepower or weight, and a splitter would be the same. Now this year, if you want to run both of them, instead of it being 6%, it's 4%. So a lot of us have decided, let's just run the wing and splitter, even at a track like this. I don't think it'd be tough. I'd love to have had a chance to try both ways, because I think at a track like this, I'd almost prefer the 4%. But I also wanted to get that splitter done and just use it for the year and go with it. So that's my current plan, although I do need to figure out some acceleration one way or another, because it's tough to run with these guys when you're down a little bit power wise, and it's really challenging to pass. There is no way I was getting by Curly without him making a mistake after, which you'll see. So I think, yep, here we are, white flag, last lap. And we'll take a little look here at acceleration. So I'm trying to stay in his draft as best I can, but he still puts, I don't know, on this straight maybe 2 to 3 cars maybe in the straight, which I always try and make up for in the breaks if I can, but Curly's driving so good that I'm just not able to do anything to catch him. So yeses were pretty good for me, but again, the car could have been a little more confidence inspiring. Here is this left and right is where I definitely would gain on Curly basically every time. Right here was the biggest one. I think his car, especially towards the end here, was developing a push, and I had a good run here, but he misses a shift and I just about run him over. I had to lift, but I'm able to just get his corner, so he leaves me room, thankfully, and now it's a drag race down to the corner, and he dives in hard, which ends up being kind of a mistake, and I'm able to over-under him like crazy, get back to power before him, which was awesome. But again, the legs of that blue car will shine through, so he's got my draft now, plus a little bit more straight line speed. And you'll see him, he's in the rear view right now, but he's gaining, and he's going to pull right up beside us, and we're going to have a braking duel here. And thankfully, these hawk pads, we're running the DTC 60s all around on this car, and those hawk pads were ripping all weekend. They no signs of fade, and we were able to clear them right there on the entry to that turn. And this is the last stadium section here for the last lap of the race, and I couldn't believe it. I was already excited to go back to the paddock and tell Curly how happy I was for him and how proud I was of him, because that's the best I'd ever seen him drive, and he was killing it, and he was consistent, and that's what it takes to win these races. You have to be not only fast, but you have to be consistent, and you can't make mistakes. Usually you can't get away with too many mistakes, if any, because somebody else will be right there to pounce on you. So we lucked out big time in this one, because that was definitely Curly's race. Anyway, 3 fingers up for my dad, in honor of my dad, Scott. Race 2, this is a butt crack of dawn, 8 a.m. The sun is not quite up yet. And this is a F1 standing start. It's the only time all year that we get to do this. So just a little bit of wheel spin and hop. Didn't feel good, but we did get a good launch. We were pulling just a little bit on the cars behind us, and I took the outside knowing I should be clear if I got a good launch, and I'll have a nice shot through apex here and a good exit. And that was basically it for the start. The next thing you'll see is we got Curly coming up. We're midway through the race now. Curly's got a nice little run, and he dove in hard and not even close to the apex, so I was able to over-under him there and maintain the lead, and now he and Houghton are battling back there in a little bit. Next thing up, third to last lap, Jimmy is showing us some horsepower. This is the backstretch, and he's got to be 10 miles an hour faster than us by the end of it. Luckily, we've got some great hawk brake pads, and we were able to outbrake them and end up getting a better exit there too. I'm excited to see his video though. Hopefully he's got some. Here's the next lap here, showing you kind of Jim's back there, maybe, I don't know, 8 car lengths, 7, something like that, probably to start with. And now you can just see the horsepower difference. And this is, he's chosen a little different route, which can benefit him in the straight. Also, the rules kind of benefit front wheel drive, no ABS, stuff like that. So you're seeing the horsepower difference in the straight line, but we're able to stick it around his outside and just try to stay on his door. And he left us room, which is what we try to do in this series. And man, it is so much fun racing. It'd be a little bit more fun if we could make speed similarly, where we could battle the whole track, kind of like Curly and I did. But this isn't, in our series, this isn't the most battle track, I guess, because it is, the cars do get separate a little bit easier here. But start of the race 3, I'm on pole again. I chose outside, knowing that if I can dive it in on the outside of Curly, which I've done, I should hopefully get a better exit. And then I've got the inside to 2 or 3 or whatever this corner is. And we cleared Curly there. Now let's just dive in hard through the S's and try to keep them behind us. And I think this one, the car handled the best in this race of any of the races with, I think I've got 7% rewards weight in the car right now. And the car was so good. It was actually a lot easier to rotate. So I might have to look better at some balance options for the car because your boy's not small. Anyway, so that's basically it. Race 4, I would have had a little bit more mid-pack stuff because it was an invert, and I ended up finishing 9th, starting 11th. With the caution, there wasn't much time to get much done, but there was a certain person that kind of ruined that for us. This certain person turned the camera to time-lapse mode. I'll give you a few guesses on who that person could be. I can think of one specific person. I love her so much. She came and she's my awesome crew chief. So thank you guys for watching.